There we go. We have a couple of people this morning who have listing appointments, so I told them that we would cross our fingers for them so they can continue to build their business. So that's pretty awesome. Let's let everybody in. There we go. And I know that there are a couple of people who are in travel today. So I was like, okay, well, it's just going to be us chickens today. So I like that. We'll get some good interactive time together with Tony. I'm very excited to have you teach. I feel always so honored to have you teach because I feel like you have such a great pulse around the industry on a national level. And because of all the people that you coach and are connected to, you know, kind of what's happening. I had a really, I know, hang on. I had a listing appointment last week. I didn't mean to, but I had one. And these people are from New Hampshire. And it was so interesting to learn about the status of their market and the condition of their market. They are in the place where we were about 2 or 3 years ago, where if you put a house on the market, they've got arm wrestling matches to get in to see it, and you'll have it sold within a day. And if it's been on the market more than maybe 3 or 4 days, then there's something drastically wrong with the property. So when we were showing them and going through the comps for their property, they're like 78 days. It took 78 days to sell this. And I was like, that's awesome for our market, right? And for their market, they are just like, is everything falling down? Is it all broken? Is it a big mess? So it's just really interesting to have all these different perspectives because we have different levels of activity in the marketplace. And it makes me laugh because I think about how, you know, waves move from west to east, right? And so we had some crazy market conditions a few years back, and now they're experiencing what we have. So the trend then would say, pay attention because this is coming the other direction for you also, right? Yes. So they had a very, very hard time like getting their heads around it could take two to 3 months. And that's honestly, if we're lucky, right? Yeah. Like that's if we hit the jackpot. And so it's very interesting to learn this. So I always appreciate your input because you coach people in, I don't know how many, like maybe 20 different states, right? So you have a lot of connectivity to what's happening in their marketplaces. So it gives us the kind of the pulse of like, hey, if you think your business is tough, look at their business. If you think their business is easy, look at your business, because these are all things that, you know, kind of roll together. So I'm always very excited to have Tony on the calls with us because I feel like you just come with a more global perspective that helps each one of us figure out the best ways we can manage and build our business. So super happy to have you. I want you to have as much time as possible. Thank you. Let's get to quick gratitudes today because we can't leave that behind because that's how we get started around here. So anybody thankful for anything?
I'm thankful for the weather. I know you guys were talking about it when I just jumped on, but yeah, it's been so nice to get outside, walk the dogs, go to the park, start going to the farmers markets again. And I absolutely love it. I'm not roasting anymore.
Right. Big difference in attitude, right?
Yeah.
That's great. Perfect.
Weather will change your life.
Really does, huh? One way or the other.
That's why I escaped Texas. Couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. I need to take your advice and get out of here.
I'm thankful for Andrea. Yay. I met with her last week and we had a great time, and then I ended up with the crap from our weather, I'm assuming, but I was down all weekend and finally feeling better today.
Oh, that's good. Good on all counts then. I'm glad you're bouncing back. That's
yes.
Excellent. This is the season to get ahead of it. Your food is your medicine. I can't shout that enough.
I'm thankful for Regan. Regan actually can vouch for me that I don't always wear a hat and walk when I get on Zoom, but I spent an hour with Regan on Zoom last week learning about his coaching practice and just kind of learning more about him. So super grateful for that time. And I would encourage any of you who are maybe thinking 2026 is going to be your year, but you need a little bit of a coach to help you there. Obviously, Tony and Regan are awesome. So That'd be my recommendation, but I'm grateful. Thanks for your time, Regan.
Oh, of course. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I told Todd I didn't know what to think. He was sitting still. I said, I need you to move your head.
Got a little head bob going on.
But Todd, I feel the same way. We had a great conversation. I appreciate it.
That's awesome. Super, super. Anybody else grateful for anything? I have two things I'm grateful for. Last week I told you I was anticipating a little trip with my son's little 8-year-old daughter. And so we hopped on a plane and flew to Carlsbad on Friday and flew back yesterday and took her to a little, it's called Cherish Mini, which is a conference for little girls. And it was so awesome. Oh my gosh. We've taken her before. We skipped last year because it didn't align in our calendars right. So we didn't want to miss again. So we took her this year and so great. Just, you know, people pouring into little girls, telling them about their value and who they are and why they're on the earth and just encouraging that development, making them ask some questions. I had some great conversation with Penny on the flight home. So she's 8. So it was super fun just to be able to have other people say to her what her family says to her. Like there's some validation, right? If somebody else's mom tells you something, you think they're brilliant. But if you're the mom, you're just mom, you know? And I think we can all relate to that as either children or parents or both. So we had a great time together. I was super thankful for that. And then I'm very excited about some things that are happening personally because I've been kind of wandering aimlessly, wondering like, what the heck am I going to do with my life when I grow up? And I've been kind of steady as she goes, doing some of the things I've already built and been working on. But I have an opportunity right now to work with my friend Raquel Canet. And we are probably doing a soft launch in November for a platform that we've been working on that really helps people who are solo agents that don't want to join a team because they know enough but they don't know enough, right? And so that kind of chasm in our industry where they really want community, they need help with support, building their systems and their platforms. And so we have been working pretty diligently on building a platform that allows agents to plug in where they get community, but where basically all of the systems that you need are laid out for you, eliminating a lot of stuff out of your budget, putting the right things back in your budget so that you can grow to scale, and then helping you scale even as, and especially as a solo agent, because there's a lot of really good agents who the next logical step says build a team if you're going to scale something, but that's not actually true. And most teams aren't actually profitable. And so we're building this for experienced solo agents to really start digging deep into their business and figuring out how they can work smarter, not harder. They don't have to be everything from the janitor to the CEO. You guys know that that's my passion, right? From agent to entrepreneur, fate events. That's been the whole premise of this. So we're building this together and we're going to launch it in Arizona first, but we anticipate that we will be in multiple states before the end of 2026. And so it's really a platform that allows our agents to not burn out, because I think that's what happens. We, as solo agents, we work super hard, we build everything up, and then we're trying to juggle everything and we burn out on everything. And so we are working to build a platform that helps our agents not burn out. They still have community, they still have education, and then they have all the tools. And so it's kind of it's a brokerage in a box inside a brokerage, because we're not offering it outside of real brokerage, because we are absolutely capitalizing on all of the benefits of real. So for those of you who are interested in that, stay tuned, because we'll be launching it here after Rise. I'm going to have a meeting at Rise, which is next week. And Reagan and I will actually be broadcasting live from Orlando. I feel like it's what is it? The Kelly and whatever show, Flippa, whatever their names are. I don't even know.
Who cares about them? It's the Kimberly and Reagan show.
Who cares about them? No,
we don't care about them. We care about us. The Kimberly and Reagan show next week. Don't miss it.
So yeah, so next week we will be sitting side by side in real life together in Orlando. We made sure that our flights were arranged so that we could be there, so that we don't miss a beat for Lions and Legends. So we're very excited about that. So we'll be broadcasting next week from there together and give you kind of a, if you're not going to be there, we're going to kind of walk the event space so you can see it in real life, and you can be connected as connected can be. And then next week, Andrea is going to be hosting Lions and Legends. So are you panicking now, Andrea, since I said it that way? She'll be teaching, she'll be bringing some stuff, but we're going to talk a little bit about, we'll take a sector of that time to talk about Rise, so that we can give you kind of the highlights of Rise. And then Andrea and her team are going to be rolling in and dropping some good info on us. So that's my perfect segue to go to Andrea. Do you have anything that you want to share this morning?
I do. Yeah, just wanted to take a minute and share with you guys a great resource that we are offering. It's called Meet the Strategist. It's every Wednesday at 10 a.m. It's a Zoom meeting, and it's with our marketing strategist, Sabrina. She's going to go over some social media, some videos, some branding tips. It's a great way for you to grow your visibility online. And this is an interactive call. So bring your questions, get some feedback on marketing. She'll be able to give you some specifics and some how-tos and where to go next. And so I will post the flyer in the chat, and you guys can either scan the QR code on it or just send me an email and I can send you the direct Zoom link. So that's Wednesdays at 10. So hope to see you guys on there.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Brookspan, anything you want to share today?
Well, it's Fed week, so our phones are already blowing up with people wondering what's going on. Now, I don't have to predict what's going to happen, because economists who are supposed to be smarter than me say 99 point something % chance that the Fed is going to lower rates. The interesting question is, the last 4 times the Fed lowered rates came down ahead of the Fed, and then afterwards rates went up. And so the question mark is that priced in now, and rates are as good as they're going to be, and rates are going to go higher, or is it not priced in and maybe rates will get a little bit better? So I'll have to report back next week and tell you how the market reacts. But definitely purchase business has been steady, but our refinance business has been popping. So if you got clients who are in a 2-1 buy down, you should be harassing them to harass their lender or me. Would love to help them get out of that and fix their rate. That's probably the best client to be targeting right now.
Yeah, I say have them harass Todd, because there's no greater fun than people harassing your friends. So let's harass Todd for apps. Let's do that together. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Brookspan. Okay, my friends, I'm going to just bounce right to Tony. Mr. Tony Caliendo is here. I'm super happy to have him, like I said before. And I want to give him as much possible time, because he is going to share some things today that can change your life. And I think that's just enough said. Go for it, Mr. Tony. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kimberly. It's funny. You and I have not talked about today's topic at all. We exchanged email just confirming that I was going to be here. And what's funny is everything you said in the intro and what you talked about your program is exactly what we're talking about today. So
oh my gosh, that's
I just
cool.
love how things just energetically line right up.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I was at a large conference last week with a lot of real estate agents, and I was on a panel, did a breakout, all kinds of fun stuff. And one of the themes that I heard and have been hearing a little bit about is this topic of burnout or overwhelm. And, it's funny when you're walking around and you're surrounded by thousands of agents, they know you're a coach, they will ask you questions. And so a lot of this came up in my one-on-one conversations with people that I didn't know, had never coached, and are experiencing this. And I think, I'm going to talk to you about 5 things addressing this burnout situation, because my question is, if you're feeling burnout, is it really burnout, or is it overwhelm and lack of clarity?
Yeah.
And that's where I started with people in the conversation when they would approach me about they're experiencing a bit of burnout. And I think right now, Kimberly, if we think about it, right, the pressure of the finish line is on. Here we are in the very last part of 2025. In fact, we're starting 2026 sales pretty quick here. if not already in the next week or two. And it's this sprint to the finish line that I think people are feeling right now, that are having the emotion of burnout. And what I am learning and want to share with you today is that not everybody's running the right race right now. As we look at this finish line, and some of us are going, how did it get to be October 27th already? Shouldn't it be June? I should have plenty of time to do this. We're pushing it right now. There's this pressure of the finish line. And a lot of people feel a need to catch up. Anybody feeling like that right now, maybe a little behind where they thought they were going to be. And there's pressure that we want to catch up and make goal by end of year. Anybody other than a few of us feeling that? I think it's pretty. Yeah, I can say, I've been doing this for a long time, and I always say October 1st is a pucker moment for agents, because it's like, oh my God, it's October 1st, and I got so much to do. There's a huge gap between where I am and where I want to go. So this finish line pressure is real right now. And sometimes our gap is unrealistic to close. And we just need to sit with that for a minute and not judge, not do anything about it. Just have the realization that we may not be able to close the gap of where we are to where we thought we would be and where we're going to finish. And it's okay. But what we can't do right now is lose sight of what's important and start chasing numbers versus pursuing meaning. Really important. If we start chasing numbers, everything changes. For us mentally, our mindset, our thought strategies, it all changes. So just acknowledge right now, there's some pressure right now of the finish line. And it can happen really any time of the year. It can happen when we're ending our first quarter. It can happen when we're ending a month. It can happen when we're ending a week. There's always a finish line. And so we could start to feel this pressure really at any time. I think it's just amplified right now with it being the end of the year. So burnout really isn't just about exhaustion. It's, in my opinion, it's more about misalignment. And it doesn't really have so much to do with too much work. What happens with the misalignment is when our why and your what stop matching each other. And this is really common to happen when we're in this phase of wanting to catch up, wanting to close this unrealistic gap. We lose sight of why we're doing this, and it becomes a numbers game, and our what and our why are no longer matching. What we're doing is not in alignment with our why. And that can cause us to drift from what's really important, or drift from our values that we set at the beginning of the year. I love Sharon's one-page business plan. And the thing I love about it the most is he talks about 4 categories which help you really identify your why, the impact on you, family and friends, team, and legacy. And when we're in this phase of misalignment, we kick those things to the curb and just start focused on do more, do more, do more, close the gap, close the gap, close the gap. So we start to drift away from what's really important. And that misalignment can make you feel burned out because you're operating out of an area that's not in alignment with what's really important to you. If I know what's important to me is the impact I'm having on what I'm doing on my family and friends, Reagan, then, and I'm doing just stuff to try to close this gap, I might be doing things that are not really in my value lens through the lens of business. So it's not really just about exhaustion. It's about misalignment. Anybody relate to that? Can
Yeah, I think
anybody
it makes a
relate
lot
that
of
I'm out of
sense.
alignment? Yeah, Kimberly.
Well, I think it's funny. For me, I have done a kind of a reset about 2 months ago on, I got clear on what I wanted to do. Now I needed to get to work on doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So I overestimated, I think, from then what I think I can get done by the end of the year. And so I know I need to make that adjustment, but I don't feel exhausted, but I feel like I am scrambling a little bit because I want to get more done than probably what is actually
What time
possible.
will actually allow?
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
trying to get my why and my what back in alignment on a kind of a new launch. And so trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
I feel like
no, I think it's really important. Getting in alignment is really important. And I think really an important question to ask yourself is, Are you tired or exhausted because you've done too much? Or are you tired and exhausted because you've done too much of the wrong thing?
Yeah.
And that's what will wear you out, is when we give our energy and attention to the wrong thing. And I see that, and so just some examples, team. I've done this for a little while. I've been licensed since 2001. So as an agent, I did this myself. When we're such drivers, typically most of us in this room have a drive to be successful, or we wouldn't be entrepreneurs. I firmly believe that. You may not lead with your driving, that drive force, but it's within you. And when we see this opportunity of failure, not getting to goal, we start to just do whatever and throw everything against the wall and hope that something sticks. And we end up doing so much more of the wrong thing versus just going back to our business plan, pulling it out and saying, what were those strategies I set in October of last year for 2025? Am I showing up as a 8, 9, or 10 in those areas only? Because if I showed up as a 4, 5, or 6, how can I expect to get level 10 result? So really paying attention to what you should be aligned with, and that goes to your strategies. Paying attention to doing the right more versus the wrong more. The
Hey,
other
Tony, can
thing,
I
yeah, go
can I
ahead.
jump in real quick and ask a question?
Yep.
Um, how much do you think our genuine authenticity burns us out by not being genuine in what we're doing?
It's tremendous. It's that misalignment, right? If I'm doing something that feels inauthentic or not congruent, your unconscious mind is shouting to knock it off. Your conscious mind's like, "Hey, be quiet. I got to get this stuff done." And so you're in conflict all the time. And that's when, to answer your question, that's where I believe a lot of this can come from, is when we're not being authentic, you're forcing a behavior.
The reason you brought up Sharon's one page, and I so appreciate that. And I think that it's one of the things that in our industry, we tend to do that one page agreement or business plan, but it's not truly authentically ours. It's in competition with other people and what other people are going to think and the goals. And I've just seen people burn out and trying to um, not be authentic with themselves and that exchange of energy to themselves before they keep going into it. And it tends to create the burnout from trying to do, like you said, just keep throwing shit against the wall.
Yeah, and you hope something sticks. So, I learned a long time ago, Steve, when I was in the hospitality industry, as an executive with Marriott for a long time before real estate. And one of my favorite mentors, Beth Paul, Reagan knows her very well. She was at the time I was a director of sales and she was our regional salesperson. And this was back in the day when we printed everything. We didn't have electronic stuff. And so we would do our business plan together and present it to her, and she would either approve or not approve, and we'd work through it. And she said, if I come back in 90 days, because she visited the hotels every 90 days, if I come back in 90 days and this business plan is in pristine condition, I'm going to fire you. I expect to see notes. I expect to see recommendations. I expect it to look like a chicken put their feet in ink and ran across it. She goes, if it is in pristine condition, you didn't buy into your own plan and you put it on the bookshelf and just went back to doing what you've always done, hoping for a
Mhm.
different outcome. So, to your point, if your business plan is not in alignment and you did it just to check a box, that's going to cause a problem for you from day one. You've got to
That's
get
what I
it
was
in
hoping you would
alignment.
say.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. I mean, if you're following a plan that you're not attached to, you're not going to follow it. It's like when, your parents tell you to do something, you don't do it. But when Kimberly tells her granddaughter to do something, she does it. It's because they believe or they're more connected to it. So if you are disconnected from it, it's not going to work. That's your first step of being overwhelmed or out of alignment. So great point, and it goes to the next talking point is, overwhelm is not just a signal, it's a symptom. And I want you to think about that. Feeling overwhelmed is your mind's way of saying, hey, there's too much input, there's too much data, and not enough intention going on. I'm just in a place of overwhelm, right? It's a signal. When I feel overwhelmed, it's a signal. So I liken it to a warning light on the dashboard of your car. I currently drive a car right now that I don't love, And the biggest deficiency it has are the stupid air pressure uh, thing that lights up when your tire pressure is low. And it seems to do it if there's a temperature change of 2 degrees or more. And so this warning light is constantly flashing and it drives me crazy. Well, I want you to think about that. That overwhelm is that warning light on your dashboard. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed, pay attention. You're taking in too much. It goes back to what I said earlier is we want to just do as much as we can and throw it against the wall and hope it sticks. It's too much input. It's just too much to process. Go back to the basics. Go back to your business plan. The more you try to do, the less you can see. So if we're busying ourselves with all that other stuff, we really can't see clearly. And clarity ends up getting buried under the busyness. That is such a dangerous place to be, is to busy yourself to feel better about what you're doing, but be really running in quicksand because you're just trying to do too much at one time. So overwhelm is a signal, not just a symptom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's good.
So maybe we change the goal for the end of the year. Maybe we don't make it about a do more goal, but we make it about gaining clarity. Because what we do now for the next, let's say, 9 weeks or 8 weeks, really, is all we have left in the year. If we gained clarity and we're crystal clear on what we should be doing, we may not get to that goal that we set, right? We might not. The gap might just be too big. Yet what we're doing is developing really good habits to carry us into and forward through 2026. So we might just have to say, hey, a couple things I would recommend. If the gap is too big to close, move the goal. Make it a stretch, but move it. Because if you're like most people, if you know you can't get to that goal, your brain will be like, Kimberly, you can't get to it. Let's just take
Never
it easy the
mind.
rest of the
Yeah.
year. Forget it. If I can't get there, I'm just not doing it. I'm going to go, enjoy the holidays. So we, number one, might want to adjust the goal down and make a stretch goal for the end of the year different from what our original goal was. I mean, sit with your strategies. I do this often with my clients. If we have a gap and we look at the strategies that we know that work. Okay, when I have 60 conversations a week, I know I get a lead. But the gap I have right now is going to require me to have 300 conversations a week. Well, that's not realistic, and I'm not going to do it. So what if I had 100 conversations? What could the new goal be? So number one, work on changing that goal to make it a stretch, yet its potential is there. And also, what's the clarity? What are the strategies that are tried and true that if I just did, and it's typically just 3, database, whatever else you do to lead generate proactively, are in there. If I just gained clarity around those, how could I end the year? Chances are you're going to get some deals. Chances are you're going to have some stuff in your pipeline for Q1. And the biggest part of that is you're going to actually experience joy and happiness again in your business. Because when we're in this place of burnout or overwhelm or lack of clarity, we're not usually happy people. Does anybody else experience joy when they're working really hard to close a gap in a goal? Like, oh my, I'm so excited that I'm so far behind and I'm not going to make goal and I'm going to do a million things and be tired by the end of the day and not get anything done. That doesn't really lend itself to joy or happiness. And I believe we deserve that. So gaining clarity could be the goal that you set for yourself at the end of the year. Could be one of the best gifts you can give to yourselves.
Hey, Tony,
Yeah.
can I add something here? To your point and to Steve's point, I find that I can work super hard when I'm in alignment and I'm doing something that I enjoy doing. And that's what I love is that you talk about your 3 funnels. One is your non-negotiable, which is your database, but how you communicate with your database has a lot of avenues. Find the way
Yep.
you love. That could be
Yeah.
through social media, that could be a phone call, that could be all these things. But I find when I'm doing something that I naturally love doing, which is talking, um, I mean, I could be tired at the end of the day, but it doesn't feel like exhaustion.
Well, there's
So
something to be said for that
Right.
good feeling of accomplishment,
a hundred
right?
percent.
Like,
That's where I was trying to get to, Kimberly. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, because it's the energy of in doing something that you enjoy. And yeah, you might be putting in a lot of hours, but if you're vibing with it and you're going with it, you don't
Mhm.
feel exhausted. You're excited to go to sleep because you're excited to wake up, not throwing yourself in bed because you're defeated. And I think there's just a big difference in your productivity based on that clarity, to your point, Tony, about being really clear. Is it over? Are we focused on the wrong things? So it's a drudgery, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not fun to do things we don't like to do. The necessary things. I have to do payroll today. I've had it printed out on my thing. I have to file my Q3 payroll reports. I'm irritated as nuts, but I'm like, okay, I put it in my calendar. I will get it done. I will go to the mailbox. I will put them in. Like, it's stupid. I don't want to do it. You know what it takes? It takes like less than 30 minutes, by the way. But I spend more time like moaning about it than I do just
Yep.
getting it done. So, shablam, I'll get it done today. So there's a difference in the kind of tired that we are when we're producing and doing something that we love to do, because that actually feeds our energy versus the things that we don't like to do or we're not good at. That just sucks everything away because there's a different emotional and mental expenditure. The physical work might be the same, but where you are connected from your emotions and your mental state is the difference between exhaustion and being revitalized, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And team, I want you to think about this. So now, Reagan, you presented this with the business plan, and Sharon, the one page, right, with those 4 categories: the impact on me, my family, friends, my team, and my legacy. Every action that we have, you've got to tie to that.
Yep.
Otherwise, it is exhausting.
Mhm.
Because there are, I'm in the middle of a rather large project right now that is taking a lot of time. I was up this morning working, from 5 until 9, preparing for this. I've got some coaching calls, and then you can ask Reagan. Tonight I'll be working to about 10 o'clock on it. You would think at 10 o'clock I would just be spent, but I'm so wound up, it's hard to fall asleep.
Yep.
Now, if I was doing things I didn't like, by 3 o'clock, I'd be like, is it time for a drink yet? Can I go have a drink? Because I need a drink. It's time for me to, do something I enjoy. But I'm not. But I'm also reminding myself on the daily, what's the impact that this action is going to have on myself? What's the impact it's going to have on Reagan, my friends? What's the impact on my team? And what's the impact on my legacy? And that helps reconnect you to the right strategies, the right actions, so that you're not so exhausted from frustration, but you're exhausted because you've got so much done and you're in your lane and you're in your zone and you can see the results coming and you're building a pipeline. So that's really important to pay attention to. I think that was a game changer for me when I first really got it about your why. I mean, we've all heard it
Yeah.
before. Any of us who heard Keller Williams before, we've always heard it. Simon Sinek talks about it, and I never really got it. And then when it was just chunked down to the ridiculous of those 4 categories, everything came together really, really clear. And so when you're operating with your strategies attached to your why, that's the game changer. When you're running around just trying different things and it's not, you can't attach it, that's when you're going to get burnt out. That's when you're overwhelmed. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the most important things right now to keep in mind. Keep attached to that outcome and the impact. Number 4 thing that we tend to do is we beat ourselves up a little bit about maybe not being the best managers of time over the last year. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes at the end of the day, I'll be like, wow, I wasted 2 hours. I did an activity that made me feel good, but it wasn't an activity that was moving me forward. And then we're in this moment of end of the year sprint to the finish line. We have this illusion of the catch up game. I'll make up for lost time. And that's living your life in reverse. You can't do that. If you could, we'd all be in a better place. but you can't, right? You can only focus on now and the future. So there's no cramming in extra effort to make up for lost time. It's gone. What you
Yeah.
have to do is protect the time that you have. That's the key, is let go of, make peace with, maybe you weren't the best time manager. And we're going to learn from that. That's really step 5. But get out of that emotional trap of beating yourself up of I should have, I could have, I would have.
Right.
Can I add to that,
Never good
Tony?
days. Yes. Yeah.
I watched something the other day that is something that I've struggled with, and I think it's really good for all of us just to understand is that I was listening to Theo Vaughn talk to Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about I have a hard time being proud of myself. And it's something that I think we all need to look in the mirror and realize like we are doing, it's not about being prideful. It's about knowing that we are doing the best we can with what we've been given and what we know how. And if you can look in the mirror and commend yourself for doing that day, come hell or high water, good or bad, it's still the fact that we did the best we could, right? And so stop shitting on yourself at the end of the day of I should have done more, I could have done more. Give yourself the pride moment. Did you do the best you could that day? And then self-aware of what can I do better the next day?
Well, and sometimes the best you can do is not excellent, by the way. And we just don't give ourselves any grace or mercy to not like hit it on all nines all the time. And I think, Steve, I've seen that episode actually. It's a good interview. It's really interesting. I love Jordan Peterson, and Theo Vaughn is hilarious. So it's just a good combo. But I think there's a lot to be said in being honest with ourselves about it's okay if we didn't knock it out of the park today. With the energy that I had and the effort or the disruptions or whatever happened, I gave it everything that I could give. And we look at that, I think it gets interpreted into now it sounds like we're making excuses. And so we beat ourselves up because we have an excuse of why we didn't get something done. And the truth of the matter is life happens sometimes for us, sometimes to us, right? Like that's just, we can't control everything that spins around out there. So sometimes we only have this much capacity to do something that's this big. But if we gave it everything we could, then it's okay because tomorrow's coming and we can do it again.
Yep. And that's a big part of it. Go ahead, Ray.
I just want to add one more piece here. All those things, and I think I see in high achieving agents, they beat themselves up and they don't, to Steve's point, like celebrate and like acknowledge and be aware they're doing amazing things, but like they're only making like, a kabillion dollars and not like that much more money. Like they beat themselves up in a different way. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge, to Steve's point, along the way, because sometimes you're doing amazing things and you push yourself to even bigger things.
Yep.
But it's not an all or nothing situation.
Well, sometimes that happens because of comparison, right?
Of course, yeah.
Like we're looking at what these other big mega agents are doing, and we've had our license for 6 months and we think we're failing miserably. It's so the comparison is always that unrealistic though, because you don't know what's happening in the background anywhere. That's the biggest killer, I think, for achievement is comparison. And that's, I think, how you easily get lost in your actual what and why is because you're so busy with your eyes on somebody else trying to do what they're doing for their why. It makes it disingenuous for you. You lose that authenticity around like what I want to build and what I want to grow. But we have these weird acceptances of what we believe success is. So it must look like that. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm not successful. And if I can't celebrate these little things, then I'm not even going to be aware when I do a big thing.
Yeah, the comparison game, right? That there's that quote, comparison's the greatest thief of joy. And I've reframed comparison in my world. I look at comparison as opportunity. If somebody else can do it, I can do it. It opens up the possibility and potential for everybody versus comparing yourself to them. I look at it that it's possible for anyone, not just that one human being. It's like whatever the 4-minute mile guy was. As soon as he broke that record, like nobody could do it, he did it. And then within 45 days of him achieving that, 3 more people did. And it was just because we saw the possibility, what was possible. So part of this catch-up game, and part of what we're talking about, about gaining clarity in that last half of the year and not so much focused on the gap. I'd also encourage you to look at how do we close loops? How do we learn lessons? How do we set ourselves up for a better runway for next year? And this is what we don't like to do. We beat ourselves up, but we don't stop long enough to extract the feedback from the failure.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to just take a moment and say, okay, and some of you might be at goal. So you might be like, I don't know what he's talking about. But for those of us at some point in our careers, we get behind in goal. And we tend to beat ourselves up about everything we didn't do and judge ourselves. But we don't pause long enough to say, what's the lesson? So I don't do it again.
Again.
And that's closing a loop. So this is a really great time. And I've advised all of my clients to do this. Take the business plan out that you wrote. Look at the strategies that you predicted would work for you in 2025. What worked in those? How did you show up in those? Again, if you showed up as a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 0 to 10, you can't expect to get a 10 result. If I show up at a level 5 out of 10, this is what's really fascinating, Kimberly, and I've done this a lot with folks that I've coached, is if you're showing up at a level 5 out of 5 out of 10, that's 50%. I can guarantee about 90% accuracy. If you took 50% times your goal, it's exactly where you would be. It's
Yep.
exactly where you'd be. It's not rocket science. If I'm showing up at a 50%, I'm getting 50% result. And so take a moment right now to look at the loops. What did I say I was going to do versus what I did? What worked? What didn't work? And is there something I did that worked that wasn't part of my business plan that if I gave it attention, I might need to put on my business plan for 2026? I'm always amazed when I do a recap of where business came from for each client that I coach. And they're like 5 transactions, 6 transactions show up from this area that is not on the business plan. I'm like, well, if we got 5 or 6 without giving it a lot of attention, do we maybe need to pay attention to it? So close it, right? It's like, okay, here's your sign, is really this last sprint to the end of the year is probably your greatest opportunity for lessons and a great glide path into 2026 to clean up some bad habits, to clean up and learn from those habits. Because if we don't, we're going to repeat it again. 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual behavior. I didn't say good and healthy. It's just conditioned habitual behavior. So 92% of what we do is out of habit. And we default to those habits during stressful times because your brain is like, hey, Kimberly, I know this works and you need to go do it because you'll feel better about yourself versus breaking through and getting uncomfortable. We want to default to old habits. So this is your opportunity to reflect back and say, what are the good habits and what are the not so great habits? What can I change moving to 2026? What strategies worked? Which ones didn't? Do I need to change the strategy? Or if I was showing up at a 5, it's not the strategy, it's me. So I either need to change me or I need to change the strategy. So this is a good cleanup time. This is a good loop closer for us to prepare ourselves for 2026.
Tony, that 92%, every time I hear that, I just get like floored one more time where I'm just like 92% of our behavior is habitual patterns, right?
Yep.
Like things that we put in motion.
Yes.
And then we get into alignment with them and we agree with it because our behavior keeps perpetuating 92%. And so if you think about like, that means 8% of what you're doing is intentional, right? Unless
Yes.
you start to build habits that make that 92% work for you and not against you. It still
That's
will
the
be
magic.
92%. We're not changing the percentage, but we're changing what the habits are inside that. And every time I read that, every time I hear that, every time somebody talks about it, I feel like I just get punched in the gut, like again, like, oh, where I need to really look is what behavior patterns actually work for me, that are for me and not against me.
Yes. Yes. You know, this is the one thing that we can change. So we've talked about this before. You know, we have about 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% are negative, 20% are empowering, right? I can't change that. But I
Right.
can change the lane I spend time in. I can spend and create 20% more. But habits you can actually change. 66 days to form a habit, right? And so you're right, Kimberly. If you want to, if you're living in the 92% of what we do is conditioned habitual, and it especially shows up under stress. We default to what's comfortable. We default to the known. We default to what makes us feel better. If we've created a new habit and it lives in that 92%, odds are during a stressful time, we're going to pull that habit forward, which is exactly what you want to
Yeah.
do.
Right.
So this is really, you know, as we end the year, we're looking at business plans. One of the things that we just don't do enough of is really reflect on the opportunity, the failures, the
Yeah.
mess ups, all of that stuff. That's where the gold lives.
Yeah. Well, that's the stuff that then you could put at the top of your list for that's the behavior pattern. That's the habit that I want to build into my goals and into my daily life. What do they call it? ADLs, right? Your daily life stuff, so that you can start to change those habits and take that 90% and strengthen that instead of looking at that like, or the 92%, instead of looking at it like it's working against you. And that's the best thing, because that's such an overwhelming and number. Like 92% of what we do is on automatic for us.
It is. It
That's
is.
a huge
But
number.
but
It
Kimberly,
is.
think about this. You know, like a couple of years ago, I decided I was going to start going to the gym on a regular basis and lifting weights. I now like, and it only took probably 6 months for me now to literally, like, when I cannot go, it is literally like just brain scrambling me. Like, it is now one of my habits. It was not previously. So you create new neural pathways and new habits by just doing, to your point. So there is hope.
It
Yeah.
is.
And
And
can
you
I
know
add
you've
to your
formed a new
amazing?
habit when you don't do something and you feel off. That's when
Yes.
you know you've got the habit
Yes.
mastered.
Right.
It's
Right.
like
Good.
something's off. I didn't do something. If I don't journal or I don't do a certain thing every day, something's just off kilter for the rest of the day. That's when I know it's a habit that I've built.
Yep. It's good.
Can I add to your amazing teaching this morning, Tony?
Sure.
One of the books that I really love and recommend is Vivid Vision. And as we're going into the end of the year, I think one of the things in your business plan, as Tony talked about, looking back at failures and going through things, I think it's also imperative that you look at that business plan and the strategies and ask yourself, is it something you are truly committed to? Or do you have to have negative clarity of, I'm not doing this anymore, it doesn't work, or I didn't try it, or it doesn't align, and start getting rid of shit on your plate that you are not going to do, that you tried to commit to, that you're just, it's not going to work, right? I'm not going to commit to calling 100 people a day. What I am going to commit is doing 25 voice memos a day, because I can do that in about 20 minutes and I can make 25 connections, right? It's a way that I know I will do that in order for me to move forward. And I think the other piece that I've really learned over the years in that clarity and alignment is your personal foundation has got to be set just like your business plan. The habits, the things like what Reagan's talking about, that movement. If you're not focused on yourself as a relationship, your business plan will probably be 50% if you're lucky. But if you
Yeah.
truly want that where you want to go, then your head and your heart better be fucking connected, and you better be working on yourself before you work on your business.
Yep.
And I
I
only say
agree.
that because I know what happens the other way.
Yep.
Yeah, it can. I mean, so
100%.
two things about this talking point. Progress happens in perspective, not during panic.
Yeah.
Say
So,
that again, Tony.
yeah, progress happens in perspective, not
Mm,
panic.
true
This
story.
is where sometimes we have to just block an afternoon off and stop working. And I'm
Hmm.
going to say this because we're in it. You know,
Yeah.
unless you're running a high level business where you're CEO of it, we're still doing a lot of the stuff. We're still doing lead gen, we're still doing lead follow up, we're still going on appointments, we're still in it. And so progress can happen when you release the panic, and that comes through clarity of working on your business, not in it. And so as we are again winding down the year, I think one of the more important things that you can do is take a moment to work on your business. This is the time to reflect and to make a strategy and a plan. And to Steve's point, part of what I would say we need to work on, not in, is what Reagan and I call thought strategies, right? We talk about business strategies and thought strategies. Both of those things must be present to get to goal. One without the other is going to put a ceiling on you and prevent you from getting to goal. And people ask me, well, what do you mean by thought strategy? It's no different than a business strategy. In business, I know the 3 strategies I must focus on to get to goal, right? I know I need to call database, do an open house network, whatever my 3 are. But I also can't just say an affirmation and think I've worked on my thought strategy. That's not it. What are the 3 actions or the 3 strategies you're going to take to master your thoughts? Are you doing, we do a thought exercise at Breathing Coaching that we do. We do a deeper level on affirmations are great if your beliefs are in alignment. It's having a daily activity, much like picking up the phone and calling the database. We need to have a strategy or an activity around our thoughts. So these 2 things are really important as we're winding down the year and looking at stuff to say, if I focus strictly on my business stuff, I'm not going to make it. I'm not, because there's this other component of success that is like, if you don't pay attention to your thoughts, it's like an unruly 3-year-old running around. You got to give it attention, and you got to have boundaries, and you've got to have structure in place for it, just like you do your business. So progress is going to happen in perspective, not panic. Work on your business. Get out of being in it for a moment. Rarely will you hear me as a coach say, take a day off, take 2 days off, stop doing lead gen, stop doing lead follow-up. It's that important for you to fly the plane from 5,000 feet to 40,000 feet and figure this piece out by the end of the year. It's really a huge factor. In fact, we build thinking time into our schedule every day, every week, so that we can work on our business, not in it. Because when you're in it, you just can't see your blind spots. The last thing I'm going to say, if you're feeling a little bit of burnout or overwhelm or lack of clarity, is clarity wins over urgency every time.
That's good.
Clarity wins over urgency every single time. Trade urgency for awareness. This is where working on your business can be really beneficial. This is where reflecting on what you said you were going to do versus what you did is important. That awareness is the thing that will get you to goal or get you back in alignment. And that's really what we need to ask right now. It's not how much can I get done? What do I need to do that's going to bring me back into alignment? What am I going to do that's going to create that awareness that I need to get back into alignment and get back on track for goal? It may not be the goal I set originally, but I got a goal. And that's the big thing. So clarity is what will end your burnout, not accomplishment. Having clarity is what can end your burnout, not just accomplishment. Clarity brings accomplishment, but clarity is the thing that ends burnout. So the right plan for next year starts with making peace with your plan from this year. Because if you don't, and you carry that into next year, I promise you, you're going to have rinse and repeat. We're going to have the same conversation next October 1st. You're going to be like, oh my God, I got this huge gap between where I am and where I want to be, and there's no way I can close it. And I feel burnt out and stressed. You got to make peace with this plan and, love it for all of its blemishes and warts and everything that could have gone wrong that went wrong. But you have to honor that and address it in order to move forward. So that's, for me right now, I think is really a big thing with all of the stuff we have going on externally. And then we have control over this box called entrepreneurship and our business. This is what can change it for you. So that's what I've been talking about a lot lately. And if you have any questions or comments, like, Steve, I appreciate your comments. Anybody else, Kimberly, Reagan, anything you want to add to this? Because this is a really critical time for your success in 26. It really, if you do not implement some of this, I promise you're going to have a repeat.
I would just like to add on to what Steve said. I will tell you guys, when you get your, as Steve calls it, your foundation, your personal foundation correct, all of this other stuff gets way easier. So our lives are connected. Like you can't disconnect your business from your personal. We try to, we think we can, we cannot. So for me, when my body is strong, when I'm eating healthy, when I'm doing the things that I love doing for my mental, my learning, my growth, the business piece gets so much easier. The things that I need to do to grow my business get so much easier because I feel good. So I love that.
I would
Yeah,
also
I do.
say that there are different seasons in your life and in your career. And I think sometimes we don't stop and kind of step back to Tony's point about kind of stepping back and working on the business. I think that that's true for your personal foundation, right? Step back and go, okay, who am I really? Like,
Mhm,
what do
mhm.
I, regardless of how I do this, and regardless of actually what I do, it's more about who am I really? What is my heart condition? What do I want to contribute? I used to have a coaching client who, when I got down to the like, okay, well, what kind of legacy and what kind of contribution do you want to make to the world? And he just said, I don't really want to make one. Those people can go figure it out for themselves. And I was like, like, I didn't even know what to do with that because that's so far out of alignment with the relationships that I have with people, right? The people who are in my world, it is about doing something that has a positive impact on other people. But I think he was very much in alignment. So it was like, okay, well then I guess we design your life like that to be completely self-serving. I didn't coach him for very long after that because I felt so far out of alignment with him because that's not how I think. And I don't know how to coach someone to be completely self-serving. That's just a weirdo thing for me. But I think we have to figure out like who we really are because once we figure out who we are and what our unique gifts are, like I believe everybody has something that just makes them uniquely them. There is a contribution. Reagan said something earlier. The way I want to do it, I like to talk. So I'm going to talk to people, right? That is it is his superpower. He can, and so he's figured out how to have a career and a life around his superpower. So figure out what your superpower is, right? And get in alignment with that with you and be secure in that. And then look at how you can utilize your superpowers in your business so that you actually enjoy your business and you're doing things that you love so that you're not burning out, you're not getting off track with your what and your why aren't out of alignment. They're in alignment because it is just a bigger expression or another outlet expression of who you really are anyway.
Yep. Yeah, and I think Kim, really, if you think about it, like if Reagan's business plan was built around um, analyzing statistics, doing reports, where he was shut off from being able to communicate, it would be painful for him. He could do it, but it wouldn't last long. And so
Yeah.
if you go back and you reflect on your strategies that you put in place last year and they are totally out of alignment, don't put them down again. Just don't. Like I remember
Yeah.
early on, this was pre-KW, I was with a brokerage that had a class that was very similar to Bold, but it was all about cold calling. And I was the top agent in the brokerage, and they're like, you got to go, you got to go. So I went. And I knew it was out of alignment. I knew it. I lasted 2 weeks in the class and I left because that activity was something I was never, ever, ever going to do. I cold
Right.
called 2 people and I quit. And it was just because it was so profoundly out of alignment with me. I did mine face to
Yeah.
face through networking and people I knew. So go back and look at your strategies. And before you copy paste, really spend some time with them and ask yourself, do you find joy and happiness in doing this? Because if you don't,
Yeah.
it's going to be very short lived. You'll probably have a good January, February, and then nosedive back to your 92% and have a repeat next year of this year. So that's really important.
Hey,
And
Tony,
Yeah.
Tony, oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Reagan.
No, I was going to say, you think about consistency or the task you're willing to do. I guarantee you, Steve is winning at 25 voice memos a day consistently. Like he's doing that because he will do it. He enjoys doing it. He'll do it in 20 minutes, but he does it consistently. Consistency wins the game. So
Yeah.
whether you think what you're doing is big or small, if you enjoy doing it, it's in alignment with what you're doing and you do it consistently, you will win.
I will
Steve.
take 10 minutes every day versus 2 hours occasionally.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
10 minutes
Yeah.
every day is going to get you a result. 2 hours occasionally, good luck.
Hey, Tony, in your coaching, and it's something that I've realized personally with all the things I've gone through, but in your coaching, how often do you talk to people? I believe every 3 years, we're growing, we're becoming different humans and the things that we evolve into. But how often do we go back to our brand and our business and ask, has it evolved with the person we've become? Are
Yep.
we creating the same message? Because I look at a lot of us getting in here, 20 years ago and go, am I doing and saying the same old shit? Am I a different person than I was? And does my messaging and things align? Or am I sending out the same old crap to my clients, my database, and my things versus who am I today and how do I impact from that perspective?
Yeah, Steve, one of the exercises that we do with clients is we do a values elicitation where we
Okay.
find their values through the lens of business. You can do it through the lens of business, relationships, life, whatever. We focus on
Okay.
business. And what it ends up doing is you compile a huge list and we narrow it down to your top 5 values. You can narrow it down to your top 10. It doesn't matter. We just really want to focus on top 5. And then you compare everything to that. Is it in alignment with those values? And what I love is it does exactly what you said. They're like, oh my God, what I started off doing is so out of alignment. And as soon as we get it in alignment, they have a breakthrough. They experience success at a different level. It does a couple of things. It helps you say yes to the right things and no to the wrong things. When I'm asked to do something, I turn to my 5 values and I'm like, is it in alignment? If 3 out of the 5 are, I'm going to give it consideration because I'm going to figure out, can I make the other 2 values be met, right? If I can't, I'm probably going to say no. In a perfect world, all 5 are met all the time. But this really does help. Exactly what you're saying is, are you congruent? Are your values being met by others? But more importantly, are your values being met by you?
Mhm.
And that's where we see a lot of change happen with people's brand and mission and vision statement is when they become aware of that.
Guys, it's really an interesting perspective after doing this for 27 years. And this year I actually hired a creative director to take me down this path, to interview and pull the alignment and personal values with the business. And it's been nothing short of amazing because what it does is it gets you really excited and really clear on where you're going. And then you actually know what you're talking about rather than trying to regurgitate and figure out, well, am I trying to talk to everybody? Or am I trying to talk and attract to these people that I want to do business with? And it makes a difference.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah,
Good.
that's awesome.
Super
All right,
good.
Kimberly, back to you.
Well, gosh, I took, I don't know, 2 pages of notes. So that was pretty awesome. Thank you. I think, it's just, I think we could leave today being very encouraged because I think if you came into this feeling that pressure of, we're at the beginning of Q4, everything hits the wall right now. My success factor is in the balance and I don't know. I think, take a breath. I think you're okay, right? Like we can do this and we can take this time to really set up 2026 to be increasing our awareness about what 2026 should be. Let me put it that way, right? And I would just encourage you guys, don't worry about all of 2026 right now. Worry about Q1 of 2026 and potentially Q2 of 2026. Because as you start to formulate some of this stuff and evaluate much of what Tony's talking about, like take a look at 2025's plan and figure out how you can morph that because I think your desire might have been correct. You just might not have figured out how to do what you were looking to do. You still might want to accomplish that, but you just were a little foggy on the how. So take some time and get clear on that. Reach out. I mean, there's, I don't know how many of us are on here are coaches. There's 5 coaches on this call this morning, right? So a little more than normal probably for most events, but I think you have people who will help you walk through this stuff. And you might not like what any of us say. I'm just going to say that. it might not be super fun for you, but it's going to come from a place of, hey, we want to help you get some clarity. And so I would just encourage you to take Tony's advice today and take a step out of your business, take a good look at it and make sure and have a good conviction about where you want to go in 2026. So Tony, thank you so much. Thank you all for participating today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Reagan and I will be live from Orlando next Monday. If we don't
Yes.
see you personally there, then we'll see you personally here. Have a really great week, you guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.